Hi, are you here? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Perfect.
Hi.
Awesome. How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Doing great. Everyone, Ty and I, we met randomly through the internet as you do, and we immediately realized that we're both kind of customer experience nerds. And so I wanted to have her on the show because I think you're the perfect follow-up to the platform, like kind of a platform talk like Gorgeous, how to do it on the back end. And
Right.
now, if I'm not mistaken, you're going to talk a little bit about like maybe like the overview, the strategy, like what is it that we need to
Yeah,
really focus on as operations managers or customer service managers in order to get the results we're looking for.
100%. Let me go ahead
Awesome.
and share my screen with you all.
All right.
All
I'll go ahead and
right.
turn off my video. I can
Perfect.
see it. Looks great.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. Let's go ahead and jump in. So today I'm going to talk about the importance of a CX strategy. I talk pre-launch, but it could be when you're experiencing change or rapid growth as well. So we'll cover both. Choosing a customer relationship management system, which you just heard from Gorgeous, so that's perfect timing for us to talk a little bit more about that. And then finally, leveraging business process optimization for support, which Gorgeous did touch on as well. All right, so within customer service, there are four components. There's workforce management, learning and development, omni-channel support, and then quality assurance. Now, most companies start their process with the omni-channel support. So they're already looking at the systems that they're going to use. How are they going to offer support to their customers? Which channels are they going to offer? I work with a lot of different startups. I do also work with established businesses, but one of the things that I've noticed is that out of the gate, a lot of companies want to offer pretty much everything, and then they find that it's really difficult to manage all of those things. And so as time goes on, you'll start to see too many entry points for the customer, not enough quality on what's happening with the customer engagements, employees learning at various stages and learning various styles, because we've all experienced train the trainer, and hiring when you need a person, not before you need a person. So workforce management is going to help you to predict your workload. And I know what you're thinking. Most people hate Excel and they hate calculators and math in general. But workforce management is necessary. It's better to have a plan that's directionally sound than to go and move forward with no plan at all. So what workforce management does is it enables you to predict your workload based on your drivers. And you may or may not know what your drivers are, but you're going to find your drivers. Just for a heads up, these slides are on my website. The website is www.theworkforcepro.com/summit 2019. So you guys can go there to review these at a later date. But back to this. So within workforce management, you're looking for your drivers. I have calculators that help you to predict your drivers. Your drivers could be anything. If we're specifically focusing on e-commerce, it could be the number of orders that you have, the number of customers that you're acquiring, how many products you're looking to move. All of those things, including, missed deliveries, missed packs, orders that are received incorrectly, all of those things are going to directly impact and drive your inbound volume. So you want to start thinking of ways of how those incidents impact your business. And it's really just an educated guess. So in order for you to have a solid WFM plan, you've got to get the right percentage of contacts per customer or per activity or per event. And then you also want to be able to look ahead so you can know when to hire perm, temp, or even if you want to outsource. Now, I'm sure we've all been in that situation. We're coming up on the holiday season, and perhaps you've ramped up or you're looking to ramp up, and you're not sure if your ramp up needs to include permanent hires or if it should just simply be temporary staff members. And how do you go about that? So WFM will help you to predict that. Your learning and development plan is really employee training. It's not just teaching people how to do the job, but it's teaching people how to work in your environment. So I come from a Fortune 500 background, and then I've been working with startups for like the last 10 years. And within the startup environment, the culture is very greatly, and it's a very different environment. We tend to look for people in startups who are fanatical, passionate about the brand, et cetera, et cetera. Well, in your learning and development, you might find someone who's 80%, great for your role because they have the experience. But maybe you are a company that sells products for people who follow a vegan diet, and this particular person is a vegan. So you'll have to teach them about your culture, how you operate, what it's like to be an employee within that environment. And your learning and development will include that, and it's a part of your onboarding strategy. Next is your omni-channel support. So omni-channel support, you're going to start off offering, in my opinion, the most efficient channel, which is self-service. Derek made a good point in the previous conversation, and so did the previous speaker, about how customers value speed. 100% accurate. Customers are not turned off by automatic responses. They're turned off by automatic responses that are sent, that are hidden, or messages that are in response to a question that are not addressing their concerns. So you want to make sure that whichever channels you're offering are channels you can actually support. And it's pretty good to ramp up. So if you start out with self-service, and then you add on your emails, and then you add on your live chat, and then if necessary, you move to phones, because phones is the most expensive to staff. If you feel that that's necessary, there's also ways to create an outbound call experience instead of having inbound calls come to you. So those are some of the things to think about. You should also decide who you want to be on social media, and you would want to engage with them. I've worked with brands who have spent a lot of time literally just saying thank you, thank you, thank you to every conversation that comes in. That's totally fine, but that takes resources to say thank you to everything that comes in, or to comment on every comment that's made. So you have to decide who you want to be, but you want to make sure that whatever tools you're using can bring that full view of the customer. So that would include social media. So whether it's native or through an API. Next is quality assurance. And so this one is almost always left out. Almost always. We have this vision in our minds of the experience that we're creating for the customer, and we think that it's happening, but quality assurance tells us if it's actually happening. So we want to make sure that your quality program is, one, in my opinion, objective. It shouldn't be internal resources. Reason being is that, I'll give you a quick story. Worked with a brand a few years ago, and we were doing a calibration session where we all listened to the same call. I felt the call because the agent on the phone was sarcastic, and he was quite frankly rude. Well, one of the other members said, "Oh no, this is a perfect call." And I go, "Well, how are we so far apart?" And she goes, "Well, that's just his personality." Well, if we go to any business, you understand that the personality that is adopted by the employees is the one that is on brand for the company. So when you have an objective party, they don't know so-and-so personally. All they know is that this is the experience that this company wants to deliver for their customer. All right, so self-service, yes, it's cheap to do. It takes a heavy lift up front, but it's a way to offer 24/7 support in your sleep. You want to make sure that you go mobile. So your FAQ page or your help center, whatever you decide to call it, should be available on mobile. It should also be searchable, keyword searchable. That is what's going to help to deflect your contacts. You don't want to leave it as a static tool. You want to ensure that it actually feeds into something. So you want to apply the learnings that you're getting from it. When customers are asking you questions that where articles don't exist, then you want to bring that full circle, and you want to actually create the article for them. And you want to make it a continuous cycle of learning and learning and learning. You don't want it to become a black hole of, customer feedback and experiences. You want to make it a living thing. Lastly is deflect, not deter. You'll hear me say this a lot. There's nothing wrong with having self-service and showing customers how to do it, but make sure that you're open to helping them if they need it. After all, if they are purchasing through you, you've provided them with a product, or you've provided them with a service, obviously you should be helpful to them as they use and adopt said product or service. So as we talk about business process optimization, you want to start thinking about whether or not your processes are going to work when you have 1 customer, 10 customers, or 100 customers. And you're not going to want to scale your operation at the same rate as your revenue. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. It's not cost efficient. And quite frankly, it's going to hurt your pockets. So some of the ways that you can make BPO work for you. You can automate responses, but you don't hide that they're automated. And so Derek kind of touched on that earlier when he mentioned that the automatic response around tracing or tracking your order, and how he put the sentence at the bottom that just says, kindly reply back if we didn't address all of your concerns. There's nothing wrong with replying right away with an automation, especially if it addresses what the customers asked for. They're going to value that a lot more than waiting 5, 6, 7 days to get a canned reply from a human being that still doesn't address their questions. So always be careful with your canned replies or your macros, whatever you use. You want to include comment articles. If you have a help center in your responses to customers, it could be your notification that says, we got your question. Here are some articles that may help you. You want to make sure that you're giving them information to service and help themselves. But again, that's the deflect, not deter. You might find that those articles help and they don't need you anymore. But if they do, be willing to help them out. If the activity is something that if the agent is going to do the same activity as the customer, then you could also consider replying to the customer of how to do it themselves and closing out that ticket. A good example of that is password reset. If the process for password reset is that you're going to send a link to the customer, then as soon as they come in and say it's a password, they need to have their password reset, automatically send that link, close the ticket out, because that's the same thing the agent will do. Always reevaluate your automated responses at least once a month. Your business is going to change, and so should your support strategy. You want to automate any logic-based workflows. So that's if this, then that. If the outcome is yes, no, if they do this, then do that, etc., automate it and save yourself the time and resources. Again, no one's going to get angry about getting an accurate response right away from a machine. They're going to get frustrated by getting an inaccurate response after several days from a human being. And if you opt for a BPO partner, make sure you have a clear understanding of what you expect them to deliver and when you want them to deliver it. Leave nothing to chance. So you want to make sure that you are defining what your experience is, that you have a quality partner that's going in to check, review, and reference all of the contacts that, not all of them, but a good percentage of the contacts that this partner is engaging with on your behalf with your customer, because you want to ensure that you're actually delivering the experience you expect. So we're going to move into customer relationship management. I'm not going to spend too much time here because I want to make sure we have time for questions. But a few points I just want to point out is make sure that you are using a system or a tool that's going to deliver data for you. It's going to be really important for you to make data-based decisions and data-driven decisions. There's always a theory and the practice. Every SaaS company or every CRM or system is going to tell you how to do or how to use their system. But the part that I find, because I help a lot of companies implement their CRMs, is that what they're not looking for is so much how to do it, but really what to do. And so that's the practice piece. And that piece comes typically from experience. Rest assured, there is no right way to implement your CRM. It's just the way that's going to work for your business. And it doesn't hurt to have someone who can tell you, what's worked for other businesses that are similar to yours. Stay connected so that you can see a full view of your customer experience. So this is where APIs come in. I mentioned that full view of your customer, the social media, et cetera, et cetera. Make sure you have all of that together. Think about scale. So sometimes implementations can take anywhere from, 6 weeks to 12 weeks, depending on how detailed you want to get and depending on the system. There are some that move faster. There are some that take longer. So you want to think about whether or not that system is going to get you through at least the next 2 years. That's ideal state. And know what you need. All CRMs are amazing because they all do something that you can't do today. So you want to make sure that you're not razzled and dazzled, that you have a good requirements list, and that when you go in to have these conversations, you're actually checking the boxes to make sure that the system is going to deliver what it is that you need it to deliver for you and for your business. All right, so just a little bit about Workforce Pro. So ultimately, we help the business, our clients become more efficient with their number one asset, which is obviously the customer. We save lots of money in our processes. Everything that we do is based on workforce management, and that enables us to predict just-in-time hiring, which saves you a lot of money, predict your workload. Any setup that we do typically will last you for a year, possibly 2. And probably wondering what's next. So here's the link to the site that I told you about. Feel free to download a free copy of Building Customer Service, which is a short ebook that I put together that talks about all of the planning efforts that you need when you're setting up your contact center, things to consider. I'm also offering a free consultation with me. It's a $100 value. You can go ahead and schedule that. Once you go to the Summit 2019 link, you'll see the opportunity to set up the session. And lastly, we're going to be doing monthly sessions with like-minded individuals around CX. And we're going to focus really heavily on the challenges within CX and making improvements. So it'll be like an hour meeting that we'll do once a month. We'll bring up different topics. We'll solve some problems together.
Love it.
That's all I got.
Oh, I love it. And I like the way you're breaking down customer service. I think one of my key takeaways, especially for the growth stage, e-commercers, I'm sure all e-commercers want to grow, but especially, right after you found that product market fit and you're starting to really scale out, you said, you're not going to want to scale your operations at the same rate you scale your revenue.
Yeah.
And if that's true, then there's only one way to scale, which is through optimizing your processes. So the business processes, and making sure that you have a system in place for handling more tickets with the same number of people. And that could be really challenging for a new head of customer service, or oftentimes, it's the operations manager, somebody that didn't even realize that customer service was going to be part of their job for a while, taking that over and really struggling with it. Who have you seen, managing customer service as you go about talking with your clients?
I've seen CTOs managing customer service. I've seen heads of marketing managing customer service, and also people in the warehouse. Because to your point, it ends up being a function that it's almost an afterthought, and it's not something that you really invest in until you realize there's a problem. And so what I want to do is help businesses become a lot more proactive with that.
Yeah, I agree. And as we heard with you and with the previous session, we know that the investment in customer service is ROI positive. It increases retention, it increases acquisition. And so it really comes down to, I believe that customer service should be under the marketing department. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I do. It depends on the types of business. For sure, if there's a retention aspect to it, I think that it should sit under marketing with sales as well, because there's a full loop, if you will. What sales brings in as far as leads, customer service is likely required to retain. So there has to be a relationship there. There are times where I've seen it as a standalone entity, and that happens a lot more in SaaS companies. Okay. And so that's not such a terrible thing, but I think it really does depend on the business. In e-commerce, I would likely say marketing should have a lot of responsibility. In fact, when I was running customer service for C's Candies, the head of marketing there insisted that when she took the role, the only way that she would take it is if customer service reported in her.
That's a good, CMO or VP of marketing. Right?
Yeah, she's amazing. Mm-hmm.
I had a similar issue as I took over director of acquisition at a beauty box subscription company. At the current time, customer service is reporting to the COO, and it only took me a couple of weeks. If I was a little bit smarter, I could have predicted it, but it took me a couple of weeks to realize customer service complaints are coming in based on what's going on in marketing. So if we don't have a weekly one-on-one, we can't disseminate the information so that they can answer the questions. Customer service will derail quite quickly. There were 80 reps handling customer service issues. Yeah. And, they didn't know that we were launching a promotional campaign. They didn't know that product needed to be added to the box, or if the product wasn't added to the box, how are we going to handle this? And so all of a sudden, there's a backlog of tickets, unsatisfied customers, and really quickly it became clear customer service and marketing are tied at the hip, because when one changes, the other changes.
Yeah, and I think another misconception that the business has when it comes to customer experience is that your majority of the time, the employees that you're bringing on to your customer experience or customer service team, for a lot of them, it's their first job. For me, I was 18 years old. It was my very first job. I had to learn, actually grew up at work, walking in at 18 years old. I had to learn, how to be in a professional environment, how to be an adult. A lot of that work that you're doing as the head of CX, most of it is people. And there's a lot of operational things that need to happen, but at the same time, you're a mentor, you are helping to guide and mold people. Whereas, maybe a marketing team that has, a more tenured staff or more seasoned staff, maybe for them, coaching only needs to happen, twice a month, but with customer service, you're needing to be in front of that person, at least 30 minutes a week, and you need to review tickets with them. So the ratios of agents to leadership have to be solid, and it needs to be based on the experience level of said leader.
I haven't even thought about it that in depth, but it's so true. Every day you need to be mentoring somebody as like your customer service manager or head of customer experience or whatever the role is. Yep. Every day you need to bring one person to the office, review something they said, talk about what you think or feel about it, how you think it can be improved. That actually leads me to maybe a random question. How do you feel about like A/B testing customer service responses? Is there a place for this?
I think so. The thing is that it can be such a personalized thing. So like, for example, what it comes down to in my experience is, did you solve the issue at hand? That's really the gist of it. And how you go about doing that is almost less important because time is valuable. We live in a world now where everyone expects everything instantaneously. So I think that if we're talking about like I have a client who's interested in doing SMS, but they're a SaaS company, and I'm like, that's not a good move, right? So it's going to give you instant responses, but you're limited to the 150 characters or whatever that number is.
Yeah,
and
you can't really do screen shares from there.
Can't do anything, and most of your support is going to be screen shares. So like, let's get proactive and schedule that instead of having someone send you a text message. So I think it widely depends on what it is that you're like looking to solve with that, but ultimately giving them what they want or answering the question directly, clearly, precisely, not so paragraphs, just here's the answer to your question. That goes a much longer way than anything else.
All right. So as a marketer, I get really excited when we can capture people's attention.
Yeah.
How do you feel about adding in like the promotional blurb or the upsell, cross-sell product items, like images of their favorite products, repurchase this into the message? Is this an appropriate time for it? How does it?
So I think it's appropriate depending on what the contact reason is. And there are so many different CRMs out there that will allow you to do just that. So you can say, if the reason that they've reached out is this, then show this signature. You can do those things. I personally think it's amazing. I've seen it done in previous companies. You want to make sure that you make that response feel very personal. Because if you think about, I'll use this example that I tell people. When I was 18, my first job was with customer service for Office Depot. And I remember my mom asked me if they sold a certain type of pen. And I'm like, I don't know. And she goes, how do you not know? You work there. Right. And so that was like one of those moments where I'm like, oh, customers expect you to know everything. When marketing sends out an email promotion and they call in and say, I got this email today, that's all they're going to say. And they expect you to know what that email is. So you
can't say, I don't know.
You can't say I'm
looking into it.
You have to know. It's like you are that company. And so you have to be a SME. You have to know it all. So if you're able to plug in a way to make that customer feel like there's a personal relationship or there's knowledge about what it is that they love or like, you're winning.
Let's talk about live chat for a second, because we got a couple more minutes.
Okay.
How do we get to under 90-second response times? Like what does it look like? What do you think the cost of it is? I know the value. I could speak to the value all day long.
Yeah, no, there's so many variables. I would be curious to understand the type of business, what the contact reasons are.
I'm thinking pre-sales. So we're selling backpacks. They're highly customizable. People have a lot of inquiries around which ones are right, what promotions are going on, shipping questions.
And which channel are we talking about? Is this chat or phones?
Oh yeah, just live chat on the site for now.
Okay. So many variables. I have so many questions.
No, you narrowed it down. You got to the point.
Yeah. So if it's live chat, one, you want to make sure that your team members have all of the information that they need at their fingertips. Most of the time when it comes to responding to those live chats, it's because they're looking for the answer, which obviously is going to keep your hold times high. So you want to make sure that they have all the information that they need right available for them to use when they need to use it. The next thing is to make sure that the people that are working on your live chat are those people who are great at multitasking. Everybody shouldn't be on live chat. And so you want to put the people who are on the fastest and the most efficient, you want to move them to your live chat channel. Also start to look at what people are requesting or asking you about, and see if you can preempt some of those responses with really good self-help articles, so that when they come to your site to search for it, they're actually getting a response back in real time that gives them answers to common questions, and you save the things for agents that need to go to agents.
I see. Yeah. I agree. I think one of the other things that I'm finding in live chat, and I'd love to hear your feedback on this. So I want a salesperson in this role for on-site pre-sales live chat. When they're trained well, they don't just answer the question, they start recommending products or actually asking questions of their own, like, how tall are you? What is your shoe size? What are your favorite colors even? How do we, and then starting to break down some recommended products and just like walk them around the store, as opposed to, maybe just answering that first inquiry. What have you seen in the ways of like training agents around the continuing the conversation, let's say?
Yeah, so I think it's got a lot to do with the profile of agent that you hire. I worked with a client who started out specifically looking for customer support people, and it was a very different prototype, if you will, than what they actually wanted, which were people who were knowledgeable. It was a beauty brand about beauty products, applying beauty products, ingredients, things like that. So what we did is we actually started to hire makeup artists and people who were really great at having that conversation about the product and had that subject matter expertise. And then we saved the transactional things for a different cohort of employee. And so the beauty advisors are the ones who are answering live chats, because, and then you can also differentiate your live chat experience depending on your CRM by department. So you can ask the customer, how can we help you? And they'll say, I want to make an order, or I need help choosing products. And then that'll go to a beauty advisor. Or they'll say, I've already placed my order, it didn't come. And then that will go to a different type of agent.
Are you seeing in live chat, like especially for beauty, are you seeing people do video chats like Messenger and stuff like that?
Yeah, that's the video chat. Screen share is becoming a big one. I have a client who's a dental camera, and all of their support for their dental offices has to be done by a virtual screen share. So I'm seeing a lot of companies that are looking to actually create that personalized experience with the customers by setting up those opportunities for them to video conference with the customer. For the beauty brand, they're going to be helping you apply the makeup and all that fun stuff. So I think it's really going to be a game changer. That's
the future right there. The future is going to be these personalized conversations happening through video, live chat. Maybe it is an SMS direct feed or a screen share. So then last question surrounding that. How do you feel about the outsourced customer service, or the, maybe hiring internationally, like in the Philippines or in India for cheaper labor?
I just had this question literally yesterday. Okay. So I think that our overseas partners do a great job at LogicBased Needs. And it's because they do want to do such a great job. They don't feel comfortable escalating, and they don't feel comfortable saying if they don't understand what you're asking them. So you want to keep them to very logic-based things, transactional-based things. If the customer has this situation, then you do that, and that's that. But when it comes to personalization and really building a brand, I've seen that the most success happens onshore. And obviously it's more expensive. But I worked for a company, I won't say which one in this case, that actually offshored all of their support and lost so many customers because of the experience that they brought it all the way back. And so there are places within the US that you can go that are like less expensive. Obviously, California, I live in Southern California, I'm in LA, it's very expensive here. But there are plenty of contact centers, Silicon Beach is up the way. But then, there's places like Arizona where, customer service pays a livable wage there, and people can really build a life there Same with sites in like Nevada and Las Vegas.
Yeah. And I know that you have your own customer service reps. You help kind of maybe placehold as companies are hiring. Is that right?
Yes, that's the idea. So someone mentioned earlier, which I want to look at the chat so I can make sure I address everyone separately. Please send me an email if I don't get to your question, ty@theworkforcepro.com. I'm happy to answer it. I worked with a company who had a 10-day wait time for their customer response, and we got them down to 4 hours within about 3 weeks. And the way that we did that is because my team is trained on most of the CRM. So we save a lot of time on how to use the system. It's just about how to use that specific instance. And as customers experience professionals, like we know the logic-based, things that you need to do for customer service. So not only will we go in and do your customer support, but as we're doing it, we build our training curriculum in an internal knowledge base that you can take and keep after we're gone. And it can be used as a tool to bring on new employees and get them up to speed, things like that. But it is a stopgap. It's not a long-term thing. It's just our way of helping you to get out of the hole that you may be in, and at the same time maintain a really great level of quality and service.
You're the fire starter. You're the ignition fluid.
Exactly. Come through and blast it out, and then we're like, okay, now we can start.
Awesome. And I will throw a quick plug for a partner of ours. Simpler is US-based customer service reps with AI backing. I threw a link here in chat that you guys can take a look at. Another great way to bring in scalable reps. I definitely do recommend having your own customer service manager and in-house team. I do think it's the strongest and the best way to differentiate your brand is having great customer service. So, but this is another alternative to, especially for scaling. Final question from KD, which I already know the answer. What CRM tool would you recommend? I know the answer is it depends.
Because I partner with a lot, so I don't have a favorite. I can tell you that I do more Zendesk implementations than anything. But I've done Zendesk, I've done Gorgeous, I've done Freshdesk. I really try to stay away from telling the customer which system specifically to use. And I more so take it on a case by case to understand what is their specific use case for their business. And then I will help them to make the right decision. So
it's a very agnostic viewpoint, but I think that's the right way to look at it. I'll be honest, Gorgeous is a little bit of my personal go-to. Mm-hmm. I worked in-house there, but I think Reamaze is a great competitor to them, when it comes to e-commerce. And then Customer, for even larger companies, I've seen Customer with a K work really well. Yeah. I honestly don't have any faith in Zendesk for Shopify stores. I just have seen it's not as efficient as the other alternatives out there.
Yeah, Gorgeous has some great plugins for Shopify for sure, 100%. Yeah.
All right, Ty, we've got to move into the next session. Thank you so much
everyone.
For joining us.
If I didn't get your question, email me. I'm happy to answer it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. And looking forward to having you back, and we'll talk more customer service